Also in object properties, you'll find discard part, and this is a visual that you can apply so that you understand which area is going to be discarded and which part is going to be kept. You have 4 choices, and internal is chosen right now, and that means that the area inside the cut object will be discarded and the area around the object will be kept. External, when you choose that, that means that the fabric outside the cut line will be discarded. You can also choose both, and when you choose both, you don't get the hatch marks in the object, but if you rest your cursor on the object, you can see a tiny pair of scissors that will reference the cut line. Both is used when you apply cutwork embroidery to open shapes or when there is embroidery inside or outside the defined cutwork area. With auto, you're telling the software to decide which part of the fabric must be discarded. And you can change this back to whatever makes sense to you. Again, it is just a visual for you to use. Break apart is at the bottom of object properties. Break apart is used when you need to split the cutwork object into its subparts in order to resequence the design. Right now, the cutwork object is combined and includes the running before, the cutwork, and the decorative stitch, and the design will stitch in that sequence. But let's say I wanted to create a circle that has a decorative stitch on the cutout circle. That stitch order would not work well if the decorative stitch would stitch after the circle was cut out. First, I'll move the decorative stitch further inside by changing the offset. With the object selected, I can select break apart. That splits the outline separate from the cut. Now I can select the decorative stitch in Sequence Manager and move it to stitch before the circle is cut. This will be a much more successful way to do this design. This option does not work if there is a net fill or applique in the cutwork object. One other thing that can be applied to cutwork designs that is useful when you have multiple cutwork objects in the same file is combine. And I can select all my cut objects and right-click and select combine. This means that all the cut ones of each of those cutwork objects will be cut before going on to cut 2, cut 3, and cut 4. The designs that are combined have to have the same properties, and you'll notice that I lost the decorative stitch when I combined the objects. You'll also see with combined objects a jump stitch in between the objects. So designs that are combined make for a much more efficient stitch out, but they also have to have the same properties if you combine them. If you want different properties, you have to select cutwork objects, right-click, and select break apart. And then you can go back and select that cutwork object and add a running stitch to that object only.